Hello, good morning, and welcome to the Saturday edition of the Useful Content Creation Show. And today is such a great day. It's been a long time coming, and I'm just filled with a lot of joy right now to have with us all the way from the UK. Is it Newport, Wales, in the UK?
Absolutely right.
From Newport, Wales, in the UK, with us, John Espirian. It's so good to have you here, John. John is one of my favorite content creators, and also he's a technical copywriter. But he'll tell us about that. And it's really great to have you on, John. Oh, and by the way, here's an important thing to remember today. Today, technically, is episode 2 of the Useful Content Creation Show. And here's what I'm going to do. We're going to relax today. I'm not trying to be too cool with it, so I'm going to just take this AC off right here. It's going to beep, but I don't care. We're going to proceed with today's agenda. John is here on a Saturday, which means he's an honorary person from the Caribbean today. John, have you thought about which island you'd like to be from?
Gosh, I haven't. But thank you so much for having me, Juma. It's been great to just get to know you. And, it feels like even though this is the first proper time we're talking, I've seen you I heard your voice so many times, seen you so many times on video. It feels like I know you already. That's the power of video, isn't it? So, when you invited me, I couldn't wait to say yes. So thank you for having me on.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to have you here. When I invited you, it was like, why did you take so long? It's like, it was almost, I felt like almost like that's what was happening. But yeah, it was a long time coming. And actually, one of the reasons I couldn't invite you, and it just wasn't working out for the Thursday show. And I really wanted you on the Thursday show. So much so that when I invited you and you said you couldn't do it, we're going to make the Saturday show work. We're going to make it work. And you said, okay, which was great. And talking about introductions, let me talk about how we first met. So you kind of saw this video earlier when I played it, not in error, but I played it. So this is, or what you didn't see is this. So this is how we kind of met. So I was going through, I've been like tracking your content for a while on LinkedIn, and
this is the non-creepy version.
Yeah, it's okay. I've been like, what is he doing there? And everybody's like, John. It's like, okay, who's this dude? Who's John? And then I'm like tracking down the content. It's like, hey, this guy is really helpful. Like, and it goes really in depth on LinkedIn. And so what I did is that there was one post. I've been following your post for a while, and then this is what happened. I said this. I sent you this message. I said, hey, John, saw your tip on custom hashtag followership. Good one. I'm taking it, right? If you ever get to Trinidad and Tobago, we can grab a Hawaiian pizza, ham and pineapple, right? And then I went on to say, I know pineapple pizza is controversial on the internet, but you look like a risk taker. oh, let's connect. But when you first saw this, can you tell me what you thought?
Well, I mean, I was glad when I saw that, because this for the people who have no idea what's going on now, they're totally confused. I use a secret word on my profile, and I say, read my profile and you'll understand, and use this when you connect with me. So when I ever see people using that secret word, that shows me that someone has paid attention. It's not just a robot. It's not just someone trying to build their network really quickly. So that's great. I love a personalized introduction. So you get my attention when you do something like that. So I thought, yeah, this guy knows what he's doing on LinkedIn, and it sounds like a fun guy as well. So more than happy to connect with people like that. So thank you.
Yes, yeah, that was wonderful. And I kind of was thinking, is this a little overboard? Am I kind of giving too much?
No.
Pineapple and pizza, but I did it and it worked. And this is your response. Let me just play that real quick.
That's very, very cool name.
Okay, wait, hold on. At the time, I think I had my name on there. Let me play it.
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Did I mute it? Oh, what is happening here right now? Let me see.
Gave you some.
Okay, hold on. Let me just see if I get it right. These things happen. I see what is wrong now. Let me remove the banner, and let's just play this.
Juma Bannister Bannister. That's very, very cool name. And yeah, I am a risk taker, and absolutely pineapple deserves to be on pizza. Thank you for taking time to take a look at my profile. I'm glad that post gave you some value. It's been a really popular one here on LinkedIn and on my mailing list today. So nice one. Okay, keep in touch. Do let me know what your name means. I'm always interested in meanings and etymology and stuff like that. So yeah, fire away, and catch up with you soon. Thanks. There we go. How's that?
That was wonderful. Thank you so much for that cool response.
You're welcome, and well done to you for using the tools that LinkedIn give you, that you can record your audio pronunciation of your name, and now we've got video cover stories and those kind of things. I think really personalize your LinkedIn profile, and that was the avenue for me to start conversation with you. Okay, you used my secret word first, but then I could come back with something that was interesting, and you did that. So that was cool. And maybe if I hadn't had the secret word approach and you hadn't had that, maybe we wouldn't have connected. You would have just gone, okay, that was a nice tip, and now I'm going to get on with the rest of my life. Yeah. But we made a connection over it, and now I don't know how long ago that was, but we're still in contact, and it's all good.
Exactly. All right, so now that we've gotten how we met out of the way, I want you to properly introduce yourself, say who you are, and say what you're about.
Okay, sure. So I'm John Espirian. Thank you for having me again. I'm a technical copywriter by trade, which means I explain how stuff works, processes, and I write content for business to business websites. But in the last 5 years, I've really specialized in helping people get more visibility through their LinkedIn profile. So writing content for them, but also giving them tips and strategy on how to use LinkedIn to win more business. And that's much more the direction that my business is going in. So I call myself relentlessly helpful LinkedIn nerd. My background is in software and hardware testing. So I test the LinkedIn platform with experiments, and I like pressing buttons and pulling levers and seeing how it all works. What's the machinery work like, under the hood, and then reporting that with my writing skills. So that's what I've become known for. And yeah, as I say, that's where most of my business is now, coming through LinkedIn, and I'm very often on LinkedIn for things like profile writing and article writing and strategic consultations and things like that.
I have some questions about that, but let's take a look at the comments and see who's down there. So Tristan is here. Tristan Griffiths, great to see you, Tristan. Thank you so much for jumping on. We have LinkedIn user. Tell the people why that is the case.
Yeah, so there are some privacy settings on LinkedIn that kind of hide your full identity, and when you've got those turned on, it means that whenever you contribute to a StreamYard stream, that information isn't pulled across correctly, and you look like an anonymous user. Right. So there are a couple of different screens you've got to go to change that properly.
Right. So that's tip number one. That is Roberta Westwood. So Roberta, I can see her here.
I like Roberta. Nice.
So Roberta, you got to change that. And Gail is saying hi, John, hi Juma. Good to see you, Gail. Faithful member of the Useful Content community. We have happy honorary citizenship. Yes.
I haven't chosen my island yet, but I'm very glad to be here.
I think there's almost no choice unless Gail has something to do with it. She's from Barbados. I'm from Trinidad and Tobago. I can never remember how to pronounce your name. Kautha.
That's a great name. Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to know how to pronounce that name. I hope she's got her audio pronunciation turned on.
I hope so too. She's a great connection though. Excellent carousels.
Okay.
Cool message, Juma. Everyone, not everybody eats pineapple on pizza.
No, not everybody in Europe agrees with that one, I can tell you.
Yeah, especially Italians. They disagree with that one strongly. So Joseph is saying hello from Miami, Florida. Hi, Joseph from Miami, Florida. We have a ton of people, so all the best people do. All right, so let's get on with the rest of the program, right? Just Marina. Hi, Marina. Good to see you.
Cool.
All right, so let's get on with the rest of the program. So this month is your 5-year anniversary of getting active on LinkedIn. But you've been giving tips and helping people much longer than that.
Well, I suppose in general you could say that I was, but really social media wasn't working for me in the years preceding 2017. I was on all of the platforms and none of them were working.
Yeah.
And it's only when I narrowed my focus and went just on one platform and I thought, let's be known in one place instead of trying to be everywhere. That approach then worked, but it didn't work straight away. You know, I spent the first 9 months on LinkedIn really doing stuff every day, and almost no one was paying any attention. But what had happened is the year before then, I'd spent the whole year really studying this thing called content marketing and understanding that all the people who'd had success, you know, starting a YouTube channel or creating a podcast or writing a blog, they had no followers. Nothing happened for a while. And then eventually they kept showing up and eventually they had success. And then all their followers came in late stage and they all looked like, oh, this person has always been successful. And no, they didn't see that early struggling period. And so I thought, okay, I'll go through that too. I'll just trust that it's not going to work straight away, but I've got like a 3-year, 5-year, 10-year plan to stick around. And I think that it will work. And about 2.5 years in, it started to work pretty well. And now we're 5 years in, and I guess I'm reasonably well known on LinkedIn. And I get about 80% of my business comes from LinkedIn now. So it's definitely worked for me. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Even though I've got a good presence on Google. You know, if you Google LinkedIn tips and stuff, you know, you've got a good chance of finding me. But actually, most of my business comes from direct recommendations on LinkedIn or just people discovering my content and then connecting with me. About 80% now. Yeah.
80%. How long? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, clearly you were tracking that over a period of time. How long did it take to get to that point? And where was your business coming from before?
Well, I would say almost all of it was coming from Google before then, before LinkedIn got really serious. And I'd started building a content database on my website from about 2014 onwards. So the first 3 years of that, everything was coming through Google. And some word of mouth stuff, but it slowly started tracking up. I would say maybe in the first year of being active on LinkedIn, maybe 5% came from LinkedIn. I would say in the last year to 18 months, it went up to about 60%. And right now it's about 80%. And I think in the next year, because of the way I'm changing my business, I would guess it's going to be 90% or more is going to be LinkedIn. So that for some people, that would be a real risk. You're thinking, you know, you're getting all of your leads from one place. But I think of all of the social networks, I think LinkedIn is probably the most secure. It's unlikely to be stopped by any big government or broken up. And because it's relating to business networking, you know, business is always going to be a thing. Whether we've got COVID or anything else going on, people are always going to need to do commerce somehow. And this is a place for business professionals to come together. So I think LinkedIn will stay around and therefore it'll be relevant for me.
Yeah. So the thing about you that I find really fantastic, that's really fascinating, is that you have this really excellent balance of shared media and own media. And that's the thing I really admire about you. It's like, you know, many content creators, including myself, have an imbalance. They usually have a lot more on the shared media side, which is any social media platform that they're using. But you've done really well over the years in maximizing both the shared media, which is the social media content, and the own media, which is like your blog and your emails. As a matter of fact, on your site, it literally says, it's like 1,528 attractive and intelligent espresso subscribers. And I'm gonna go out there on a limb and say, maybe you didn't think of all this at the beginning. When did this become part of the plan?
Owned media, you mean? Well, I mean, I think I've always realized that there's going to be a corner of the internet that I'm going to be able to control, and there'll be a corner of the internet, well, the rest of the internet that I can't really control. So if the rules of the game change on social media, if you can't reach your people, you're going to be in trouble. So having an email list and having a blog that is found in Google is still quite an important thing. It's a sign of authority, and it's somewhere that you can completely control the look and the feel of the conversation. So I started my espresso email list, I think it was 2016. So it's actually hasn't really built that quickly, but I've got good open rates and good engagement rates. So I know that, people are actually listening to that channel. There might not be a lot of them, but as I'm a one-person business, I don't need like tens of thousands of people to be giving me business. I don't need that to sustain myself. I need a smaller and more engaged community. And that's kind of what I've realized in the last year. That's probably the most profitable niche for me, is just to get close to a small group of people and work with them more carefully, instead of trying to think, oh, I need 100,000 or 500,000 followers to have a business. That's not true. I don't think it's sustainable for people to aim for those kind of big numbers. I think a smaller community is actually the future. That's probably the way to break through the algorithms, because if people care about you and they're looking for your stuff and they want to listen to you, doesn't matter what the algorithms are going to do. They will find that stuff if they're invested in you. So that's going to be my approach.
And I think for you, it's really that comes through very clear, because you've built your brand on being helpful and not being salesy. It's like it was built into you long before you dubbed yourself relentlessly helpful, which we all know when that happened. Happened live and in the moment. I actually had a video clip of that. I can't play it, but it's okay. But it's even reflected in the fact that when you were once asked what piece of copy you really wish you had written, you replied, "Every little helps." And
that's the Tesco tagline. I mean, those kind of short, clever taglines can be worth a lot of money, and copywriters will drool over those things, because something so simple and you think that's really obvious, but only one person ever came up with it. And now certainly in the UK, that's something that pretty much everyone knows. It's a household thing, and it's something that I've talked about before. If you can create something that is short and memorable, that's really, really powerful, because people will remember you, and that's just much better than anything else. If you can be remembered, you've got a good chance of actually getting business. It's such a big hurdle, because there's so much noise out there. So, when, like you said, relentlessly helpful was a bit of an accident, really. But when I realized that it was powerful because people kept saying it back to me, I knew that it's something that could be memorable for people. And so if I kept using it, it would help me build my brand. And now here we are, and people say it back to me all the time. So if you're out there listening and thinking, how do I get business from, social media and internet in general? One of the important things is defining what that brand should look like. Not just your visuals, but the words that you use, the tone of phrase that you have, and be consistent and congruent in that. Just keep saying those things. And eventually people will start to remember it. And as soon as they remember it, it makes it easier for them to recommend you to others. And in a field with lots of competitors, if you're the person who gets remembered, you'll probably end up getting some business.
Yeah, most definitely. And and for you, that comes from somewhere. So like, I remember you saying, remember Louise Hornby? Remember her? Right. And so she stood out to you because she was very helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So she helped you. And so do you think it's important for your character, because it seems that thing was built into you? Do you think it's important for your character or your personal philosophy to influence your content?
I think it's absolutely essential for that, because otherwise you're trying to live up to an ideal that isn't really true. Like, you could manufacture an identity almost like an actor, but it's not really true, and you will let that mask slip at some point. Whereas if you're doing something that is genuine for you, you don't really need to think too much about it. Once you've got the idea in your head that, okay, this is who I am and this is who I'm going to be online, it's not an effort. Like, I'm naturally that helpful person, so I don't really have to pretend to be helpful. I just go off and do it. But it needs some... You need some kind of meditation time or something to think, who am I really? And what do my friends say about me? What do my family say about me? What does my number one fan client say about me? And then reflect on that and think, is this really me? Am I really being this person? And then put that out into the world. Like, I mean, with you, if you were doing something other than video, you probably wouldn't be as passionate about it as you clearly are when you talk about your gadgets and how to get your lighting right and giving your, useful tips on video, because you just obviously love doing video. You were doing video when I came onto the pre-call. It's like you just do video all the time. So
Right.
if you were doing something else, you probably wouldn't like it as much. You wouldn't care about it as much. It's obvious that you care about what you do, and that's great to be able to translate that through into business, because you want to work with someone who's enthusiastic and really believes in what they're doing. That's really important, I think.
Yeah, that's so important, so true. What is SFEP?
The SFEP, well, that's actually changed its name, but it was the Society for Editors and Proofreaders. So when I was made redundant in the UK back in 2009, one of the things I thought I would do is train as an editor and a proofreader of text, which is quite a, it's a niche technical discipline. Not anyone can be an editor. And so I did that. And then very soon my technical skills got noticed, and I ended up helping with their website, and I ended up becoming a director of the society. And so that got me a little bit of exposure, but that's where I started. But yeah, I suppose it didn't take me long to realize that actually writing rather than editing was more of a strength, because I'm naturally good at explaining how stuff works. And then, as I said earlier, once I realized that LinkedIn was a powerful tool for communication and for showcasing my explanatory powers, that really then just changed the direction of my business. And now these days, most people know me for LinkedIn rather than writing, really.
It's true. Yeah, you can. It's almost like there's the balance has shifted, which is a good thing for you. Because clearly, if you're getting 80% of your business through LinkedIn, that's a good thing. When you were internet director at SFEP back in 2016, you went live for the first time ever on Facebook.
That's right.
And you were so new at it, you couldn't figure out how to end the live. You didn't know how to turn it off.
I didn't know. You know what? Back then, I took part in a challenge, I think, and I think it was October 2016, something like that, where I was in a marketing community, and the challenge was, right, every day this month, you're going to do a live video. And I was really scared, thinking, well, I don't really do any videos, let alone live videos, and every day. And it was really scary at the start of the month. But by the end of the month, it was like, okay, it's time to go live again. I'm going to go live. So it might only be 5 minutes long. It doesn't matter. I just press this button, then I'll press that button. A few people will turn up. It's all good. And I wasn't nervous anymore. Right. And so although not many people really saw those videos, it was very powerful, because every day I had this practice of hitting a button, saying something to a camera, and then hitting the button again and getting on with the rest of my life. And it stopped being scary. Right. And we're still in the position now where a lot of people haven't done any kind of challenge or anything collaboratively, and they just look at they look at their phone or they look at their webcam and think, I could not do that. I'm going to sit and watch and let everyone else get on with it. But the problem is that the people who are turning up on video, like me, like you and others, are the ones who get remembered. So really, I'd encourage people to give it a try if you haven't. And if you can get someone to help you, like you go live and I'll go live together, we'll do it together. It becomes a lot easier when you've got friends around you, instead of just thinking that you've got to do everything alone. So that was a really important moment. I didn't realize how important at the time, but nowadays it doesn't scare me at all.
Yeah, that's excellent. And I could see the kind of nerves in there at the time.
Yeah, I'm sure you could.
Yeah. What you said, an interesting thing in that the very first live video, you said if anyone wanted to meet you down on the general conference floor, you said, I'm the one who looks like he swallowed 3 other editors. You had a sense of humor about it, but fast forward to December 2020 and you'd lost 3 stone. For those of us who don't know what stone is, it's 42 pounds. And there's often a debate about what's too personal to put in your professional content, and how how do you decide what you have to share and what's too personal?
Well, I think that decision comes for each person, but it's something that you've got to feel comfortable with. And I think sometimes people go a bit too far when maybe most or all of their content is all personality led, because then or personal content led, because then you don't get a real insight into actually what their value proposition is. They're just talking about things that are nothing to do with work, let's say. And I don't think that's right. But also, I don't think if all you did was talk about work, if all I did was turn up with LinkedIn tips and you don't know anything about me, then I'm missing out on an opportunity to connect with you on some kind of deeper emotional level. But each person has to decide what's appropriate for them. Like if you put something out and you think that there's a chance that you might regret that later, or that you wish you could take it away later, you will never be able to take it away. So it has to be something that you'd be comfortable maybe saying in a room in front of other real human beings, not just into a camera online. Because when you say it into a camera, you're saying it to the whole world forever. So just be aware of that. But I think most people, certainly on LinkedIn, probably a bit too scared to say anything remotely personal, and they're probably the ones who will never get any real success. You've got to have a bit of an emotional connection with people.
What do you think about this is not Facebook trend on LinkedIn?
I don't buy that at all. I think all social media is going to converge in the end. I think social media basically will be a case of which badge do you prefer on the front of your social media channel, because it will be the case that all of them will have groups, all of them will have video, all of them will have direct messages. You'll be able to do everything on all of the platforms, and it's just a case of where do you want to hang out? Where do you want to build your community? So I don't, the people who don't like that Facebook style content on LinkedIn have 800 million other users' content to consume. They can just ignore that content if they don't like it. It's not for them to say what is right or what is wrong. If it's something that LinkedIn doesn't like, they will find a way to stop that content on their platform. But if they're okay, it's their house. If they're happy with it there, it's not for the users necessarily to police what kind of stuff goes on there. So I don't buy that. It might not always appeal to me, but I can move on. I can mute people. I can ignore people. I can even block people if I find it really offensive. But I'll just focus on the things that serve me. And to that end, I'm very strict with who I follow, because I'm a busy guy. So that means unfollow the people whose content doesn't serve you. If they're putting rubbish in your feed, unfollow them or mute them or block them if you have to. There's space for all of us, and I don't think we should be sending people away to other platforms.
Yeah. So I know you're secretly writing a new book. Are you going to include yeah, you're smiling. I'm just saying that. I'm just putting that out there, but I'm almost positive.
So I'm collecting lots of notes for the second book, which is going to be called Relentless, which is kind of based on my relentlessly helpful headline. And the idea of the book is lots of short tips on how to practically be helpful to your community so that you can grow your reputation and ultimately win more business. It's been hard to find time to move the book forward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start sharing content for the book with my community on LinkedIn so that they can see it coming together. And that's going to be my collaborative way of sharing the content, instead of trying to keep it all secret until the book's ready to hit the bookshelves, So I'm kind of writing it at the moment, but I'll be sharing lessons from the book with my my espresso group very soon.
All right. So let's just take I knew that there was a book. Actually, I didn't know, but I knew, clearly it's John. So let's just say hello to some of the people in the comments in the meantime. There have been a lot of comments since okay, so the last people we had, Nippon Goya, hello all the way from New York. Hi, nice. Nippon, good to see you. Of course, our good friend Giant.
I like Giant.
Good right. Man. Yes, yeah, great. Hello, John and Juma. This who I had no idea was showing up nameless. You're not showing up nameless, you're showing up faceless. And nameless too, and nameless as well. So you need to fix that. And John has a tip about that somewhere. You might have to go search it out, Let's say good afternoon to Claire.
Claire.
Hi, Claire, Content Angel. Claire, Tristan again. And Jerome. Oh, Jerome is one of my new connections. Hi, Jerome. Hi. Right. How you doing, man? And being remembered is key. People remember now because I'm the Content Angel. Yeah. And you did a good job of that, Claire.
That is a great title.
Yeah. And And this is this is Vasha. She connected with me because of this live that
Oh, yeah.
we're going to do.
I know Vasha. She's
And
cool.
and Juana, hey, I haven't seen Juana in a while. Hi, Juana. How are you doing? And of course, Sue, right? Great idea to get signals from your content, John, as you write in the book. Hooray. Because everybody wants exclusivity. So we're going to get some of that.
Yeah.
So you've said of your weight loss that small consistent changes over time can have huge effects. This is true, and it could be applied to almost anything. Do you still do 7K every morning? Is that still a thing?
I try my best. I'm trying to get 10,000 steps a day, which works out at about 7.5 kilometers. I don't always manage it. I'm not perfect, but I'm more often than not that I'm getting it. It's a good way to start the day. It wakes up your brain, and I'm a big fan of audio content as well. So I don't often have time to sit down and read books or watch YouTube videos or whatever. So it's a time where I can just maybe listen to a podcast or something. So I'm learning as I exercise as well, maximizing my time, and then I'm ready to get working. So yeah, and those small, they feel like small efforts, but yeah, compounded, they really make a big difference.
They do, and that is kind of you're one of your favorite authors, and also because of you has become one of my favorite authors. Mark Schaefer has talked about that. Both in Cumulative Advantage and in Known as well. Yeah. So talking about Cumulative Advantage, you have about 142 blog posts on your Relentlessly Helpful blog over the last 7 years. And some people may think, well, that's not much. But here's the thing. These are not just surface level writing. These are articles that go deep. And you can easily take one of your blogs and probably cut it into 5 or 6 different pieces of content, well, and some of them even include videos. I've done some calculations. Would you like me to share them with you?
Oh, go ahead. This would be interesting. Okay.
So by my calculations, you have conservatively the potential for about 750 pieces of content on your blog.
Wow.
Even though you've only posted 142. And for those people who would want to know, to put that in perspective, if we were to post one piece of your content every week starting today, it would take us till 2036 to use all of your content.
That's fantastic.
My question is
the nerdiness behind that. Nice one. Cool.
Yeah. How do you keep track of all you've done? Is there a system for archiving? How do you plan? And also,
Well, my website search is very, very powerful. So sometimes I'll think, have I written about this? I'm going to go and search on my own website and that will find it. But for anything that I do on LinkedIn, which is actually the majority of the content that I put out is on LinkedIn, I keep all of mine in an indexable set of notes so that I can quickly look back at what I posted and when, and get links to stuff as well. So that's my way of keeping track. And another way of doing it is I do a special search sometimes through Google. So a lot of people don't know about the site filter on Google. So if I type site:espirian.co.uk and then a search, it will do a search for that term only restricted on my website. And so that's another way of searching through and finding stuff that I've written about in the past. But I suppose my memory's reasonably good. I'll know if I've written about a topic, and most often it's LinkedIn topics, and it's pretty easy for me to go and hunt down short form or long form posts like that. I've also got a YouTube channel as well. It's not as active as my other platforms, but it's I think I'm going to be doing more video this year, actually. So I expect that to be more populated pretty soon.
And so how do you also plan and curate your future content?
Well, a lot of my content is informed by whatever experiment I've decided to do that month. So each month I usually pick a different experiment to try. And then that I'm building towards writing about that in my long form content. For short form stuff, very often it's not planned more than a day or two in advance, because it's that short form content often comes from questions I get asked by email or via direct message, because I've got a big network and people know that I'm fairly good at answering promptly. So they'll ask me a question and I'll either say, I wrote about this 3 months ago, here's the answer, or, oh, that's interesting. Okay, I'll here's a screenshot and I'll do a post about it the next day. So that's a constant stream of new things. And of course, because I've chosen to work on LinkedIn, which seems to change so often, There's always something new going on. Like right now, as we speak, they're testing, interactive audio events. I mean, no one really knew that was going to be released, a couple of weeks ago. That there were rumors that something was going to happen, and all of a sudden, it's happening, and people are testing it. Or what does it look like? What does it do? What are the limitations? There's all sorts of content ideas that just come up all the time when you write about something like LinkedIn.
Right. So you're saying that the content that you put out is heavily informed by the rapidly changing
changing platform and people's questions. Right. And I think that second bit is the most important, because if you can answer real people's questions, that makes people feel more invested in your content. You either do something where you can directly collaborate with people. So I've done a few projects where I've actually worked with other people. We create something together and they feel invested. Or if someone's asked me a question and then I've gone and turned it into a video, or I've turned it into a step-by-step explainer or a blog post, that person, they feel empowered. Like, I asked something and wow, look at the response. They're going to want to share that information. And if they ask that question, well, maybe there's 100 people who never said anything who also had the same question. They feel good. And the more stuff you've got like that, the more you look like the expert, because every time someone thinks of a question, they'll go, oh, he's already answered it, and he's answered this, and he's answered that. That builds your authority. So it's the fundamentals of content marketing. It's one of my favorite quotes. I think I first heard it from someone called Marcus Sheridan, who's really well known in content marketing. He said that really the goal is to become the Wikipedia of your industry. Right. So whatever you do, you're a logo designer, or you're a website builder, or you're a video expert, or you're a writer, if you can answer all of the real questions that people have in an easy to find way, people will start thinking about you like, oh, he knows. Oh, ask Juma, he knows. And you keep getting that. Well, obviously, some people are going to go, okay, well, why don't we just pay him and he'll do it instead of, do you know what I mean? So that's the aim, is to show your authority instead of just staying quiet and hoping that people will find you.
Do you repost content from time to time?
A little bit, not often, to be honest, because I've got so much new stuff that I don't often repost. But when I do, it usually gets a fairly good response. I will tweak things rather than reposting verbatim, because I think most social platforms know if something is byte for byte identical, it either won't let you post it. It might just say this has been posted before, or it might not get the same traction. But there's usually a couple of different angles, or a different headline you can choose, or maybe a different cover image you can choose, and it makes it look fresh, even though essentially you're repackaging something that you made 9 months ago. So I don't do it a lot, but I probably could, and it would probably work.
Yeah. I've heard people say, I've seen it happen. People repost content from like 3 months ago. I find that so hard to do. I am one who leans into original content a whole lot, and things, as you said, there are more questions to be answered. Things are changing rapidly. So, posting new content.
Let me be very clear, right? I think it is a good idea to make the most of your content, so that if you have posted it only once and then you never post it again, that's probably not optimal. I mean, for me, I create a lot of new stuff. It's not a problem for me. But for most people, it's a good idea to recycle at least a little bit, because even your most avid fans will not see absolutely everything you put out. In one experiment I did, even someone who comments on my stuff, reads my posts, direct messages me frequently, even she only saw 60% of my content. And I'm thinking, wow. So she might have missed some stuff that was really important. I can't tell which 60% she saw. So if I didn't repost, maybe she would have missed it altogether. So it's a good idea to do some recycling. Just because I don't, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't either. It's probably a good idea to recycle.
Right, definitely. Are you a solopreneur by choice, or do you have plans to expand the team?
I've thought about it in the past, but I honestly, I think I would be a terrible boss, because I would want my standards to be really super high. really high, like editorially, design, congruence, tone of voice, timing, uh, personality. I just want everything to be perfect. And the only way I can guarantee that is if I do it myself. And that probably sounds very arrogant, but I wouldn't want the hassle of having to employ someone else. And if I did want to employ someone else, honestly, I'd want them to be better than me, and I'd want to pay them in keeping with that. And it's hard to understand how that could be possible at the moment. But also, I don't want to expand too big. I was reading a book the other day called Company of One, and it was talking about, everyone has this kind of minimum bar they want to reach in terms of their earnings and so forth. But you kind of need an upper bound as well, and say, I don't want to grow faster than this.
Yeah.
And it's okay. No one needs to take over the world. You just need a certain level of success, and you need a certain level of income to, support your family and achieve goals, whatever they are. You don't need more than that. So I'm kind of mindful that I don't actually need to grow beyond a certain level, and I'm getting towards that point. So.
Let's dig a little deep into that, because that's something that speaks to me. So I've always said, especially when we first started out in Clubhouse and we were seeing all of these gurus talking about how to make $1 million and stuff. I entered to one room one time where it was me and two other guys, and we were talking about, the guy was sharing his story about how he had this $1 million business and it destroyed his family. And
imagine.
And I was telling him is that everybody is obsessed with becoming this massive business and having these millions. Not every business needs to be $1 million business. You just need to look at what is your purpose and line up your efforts with the purpose that you have. And I feel that that's kind of what you're saying. You're saying that your life has a particular structure. You have particular goals. You have particular things, desires. And once those things are served, there is no need to force beyond that, because they can only give diminishing returns. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's right. And research I've looked at in the past suggested that there's kind of a point in the UK, it would be around £60,000 a year, where if you're earning more than that, you're probably going to start sliding down the scale of happiness, because you'll end up being in charge of too many people, or you'll be working too hard, or you'll be in such a high pressure job that you won't be able to actually enjoy your day-to-day existence. So I think there should be that upper cap, so that you can actually enjoy your life and have enough money that you don't need to worry, because obviously no one wants to be worrying about how they're going to put food on their table for their kids. But there should be an upper bound. I think that's certainly the approach I'm going to take, and I'm not going to shoot for mega earnings. It wouldn't appeal to me at all.
Yeah. I feel the same way. I feel like there's a cap on the number of people. Right now, my company has, we employ about 4 persons, and and we have one part-time person and a ton of freelancers that we deal with. And I feel like, from the estimation of what I think the purpose of my company is and what I'm supposed to be doing with it, I'm not supposed to expand beyond a particular size. I'm not supposed to have 1,000 employees. That's just not my, because you lose stuff. I love being home with my kids. I love, being able to walk out this room and see them and to have conversations with them. And I think that's so important. That's a factor people leave out when they think about business and content creation. That is very critical to having to have a good life,
Yeah. And also, I mean, you probably got into content creation and video because maybe you love doing editing, or you love doing compositions of designs, and you love that sweet transition when the music kicks in and getting it just right, making it look good, making it sound good, getting the right equipment, talking to people about that. You didn't get into the business so that you could manage other people to do admin tasks. That's not like the thing that's driving you. It might be necessary for some people to, if they really want to grow, but if you do the thing that actually you want to do, and it might mean that you don't grow, but you get to do more of what you like.
Considering it, I think part of the issue for me is, like, I treat the company like having relationships, like really connecting with the people, having conversations, and you can't be friends with 1,000 people. And it may sound strange, some people are just about productivity and numbers. That's not my primary thing. I'm thinking about having a small, efficient, concentrated team that can lift heavy weight.
Yeah, that's
you
great.
know,
That's
and so we
perfect
get
attitude.
all of the reward inside of that. So that's good. It's good to hear you say that, John. It's nice to pull back the curtain
Good.
and see the thoughts behind why you're building your business in a particular way.
Mhm.
All right. So let's take it back to the 22nd April of 2020. All right.
Okay.
Do
Yep.
you know what that is?
It might be around the release of my book, perhaps.
That is exactly the release of your book, Content
Yeah.
DNA. So let's have a look at this video here, which I want to share.
All of the people who... Hi everyone, I'm John. I'm recording a quick video to say thank you to all of the people who have pre-ordered my book, Content DNA. I've been banging on about this for ages. It's been 2 years in the making, and finally, today is the day that it's released on Amazon. The paperback is there at the moment, although strangely says that it's out of stock. Trying to work out why that's the case. The ebook should be there later today, and hopefully within the next hour I'll be receiving my first print run of 400 books for all the people who have pre-ordered. Just thanks again for all the lovely messages on LinkedIn, on email, Twitter, just everywhere. It's really been fantastic. If I've ever helped you and you haven't pre-ordered my book, please consider it. It would mean the world to me. I've worked really hard on this. I'll be sharing updates and blogging about my experience, about the whole book publishing process. It's been a long journey and I've learnt loads, and I hope I can share some of that wisdom with you. Thanks again for your support, and I'll speak to you all soon. Cheers.
Okay. So
that's before I lost the weight, by the way.
Yeah, that's in the middle of the year.
Tell.
Yeah, middle of the year.
Huh.
So it seems that in that moment when you were asking for support from the people who you knew you would help, that was a significant moment. What were you thinking at the time of the release of the book?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of, there was a bit of frustration there, because my plan had been to go and launch this book at a conference that was going to be attended by 700 or 800 people. And then, of course, you know, the lockdown started for the first time. You know, the COVID pandemic really kicked in. And so that event got cancelled, and I'm there having pre-ordered a load of books and wanting to do this big release, and then nothing. And I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to make this a success? So there was definite frustration in the background of that, but also gratitude at the people who had supported me along the way and had pre-ordered the book, and, you know, asking for updates and said that they were going to, you know, post a review on day one and stuff like that. So really grateful, and I did actually end up writing that follow-up blog that documented like all of the things that you need to do to self-publish a book, because it's a lot. It's not just writing the words, you know, you've got so many things like editing and proofreading and indexing and cover design, and then, you know, Amazon upload and ebook creation and audiobook. It's like, wow, there's so many moving parts to get it right. But yeah, that was 2 years of my life getting it ready. So it was a really big project for me, and I don't often ask for help, but with that one, I did say, look, hey, I've worked hard on this. It's only £10. Please put your hand in your pocket if you could.
Yeah, I could hear it. I could hear it. Look, this is what Claire is saying.
Yeah. It was an emotional moment. You know, it's not often you get a book published, and I learned from Mark Schaefer actually that going cap in hand to a publisher probably wasn't a good idea, because I'd lose a lot of control. You know, you don't get full control over the content of the book, or how it's published, or what it looks like, and how it's edited. And I thought, no, I want to do all of this myself. I want to be responsible for every word. And so I did, and there we go. And it's been really well received. So I'm glad that people actually like it now that it's out there.
Yeah, I love the book. You know, thank you to Ella who like in a simple conversation in the comments, by the way, said like, hey, you should get John's book. And I'm like, nice. I was like, okay. I just like immediately bought it.
I think you got the audio version of it, because I'm sure I remember an image of you listening to it in your car.
Yeah, I got the audio version.
That's the first time I think I'd ever seen anyone listening to the book. I was like, wow, you know, someone on the other side of the world is listening to me, you know, narrate my book. That's an awesome feeling. So yeah.
Listening to the buttery smooth voice of John Espirian in your car while you drive from point A to point B. That's a way to spend your time.
You've got the voice. You should do an audio book. I'm sure that would be really well.
one of these good days, I'm thinking so much about it. It's something that's been on my mind, and I'm gonna read a lot about how your process went and see if I could grab some stuff from that eventually. I'm
Yeah,
thinking
sure.
about
Well,
it.
hey, I'm up for talking to you about that anytime, because I think you'd be a fab author, and you'd certainly got the voice for an audiobook too. So
Oh, yeah,
we could make
yeah.
that happen, I'm sure.
We can a bit of training, a bit of polish, clean up the old pipes.
Okay.
All right, let's look at some of the comments. We haven't checked in with our people in the comments for a while. Tristan was saying of the 2036 stat that he loves that stat, especially giving a different give different perspective. Sue Griffey was saying impressive to 20. It's really true. One a week. It's going to take 14.2 years.
Wow,
that's how long it's going to take to get through all of your, and that's the content we know exists.
Yeah.
Right. That doesn't count the videos. It doesn't count the tons of content you have hidden away in the vaults that you haven't released.
I had a feeling that Tristan would be interested in that stat, because I know that he does content repurposing in his business. So that's probably the kind of thing that he will do for his clients too. So yeah, I didn't realize I had that much content, to be honest. That's amazing.
Yeah, the reason your content is so impressive is because it, as you said, just like your focus on social media, it goes deep. So I look at the post and I begin to track and say, this paragraph is a video. This paragraph is a video.
Right. Yeah.
This paragraph is a video. Then you have a video in the blog post, which is incredible. It's like you putting so much ingredients into this harmonious meal of content. It does something.
Harmonious meal. I like it. That's a nice visual.
Yeah. So we have Dana saying hello. Dana is one of the faithful members of the Useful Content community. You can see she's storing the bulbs. That's why we have this bulb right here.
Nice.
That is that. Claire saying super organized, John, and I was impressed with how quickly you put stuff up. Right, you pull stuff up. Basha is saying, okay, well, he's talking to the profile stuff. John is also a super voiceover. Charlie was brilliant.
Yeah. So yes, I helped with the Charlie's Angels video that Claire did with Ilya and Mamita. So I was one of their guest Charlie voiceovers for that.
Is that the Charlie?
Charlie from Charlie's Angel, the voice who you never see his face.
All right. Right. I see you, John. When people ask you a question you've already written about, does it annoy you that they don't search your website first?
Well, I to be honest, it probably did years ago, but it happens so often that it's just human nature. So there's no point being annoyed by the way people naturally are. You just have to deal with it. So, and it's nice because you can give people a standard response and say, thanks for your question. I wrote about that and everything I do is dated. So I can see when I wrote it. Hopefully it's still relevant. Here you go. Let me know if you have any questions. Done. Nothing to be annoyed about. And usually people are really grateful when you, instead of saying, just search my site, you'll find it. That's not a helpful response. I always try and be as helpful as you can. So if you've got a direct link, give people a direct link. Don't just tell people to find it. I suppose you could say, next time you could search for it yourself. But hey, I like helping people as much as I can, and they're always really appreciative. So it's never a problem.
Excellent. Varsha is asking or saying, I really wish to know what's your prediction on the audio events, John. I attended one today and felt a void to be able to communicate instantly as you're doing these lives.
Yeah, I think they need to work on the technical side of things. But I mean, this is still an early beta, so I wouldn't expect it to be perfect. It's certainly not as good as Clubhouse is. I think the real killer feature will be if they allow this to be a truly private event or something restricted to a group. Because you could imagine that, let's say, a company could say, okay, all employees for half hour, please join this room. Well, you can't do that right now because anyone could join that room. Or everyone in this group join this room. Again, you can't do that. But if they implement that, which they really ought to, then I think it could be really powerful, because you could be having a room that stays open all day and people can drop in and out, and that they're your employees or they're part of your group. And then you can chat to people in confidence. I think that would be a really good feature. But right now, it has some technical drawbacks. It's not as smooth as on Clubhouse, but it's early stages, and I'm quite hopeful that it will be a powerful feature. I think the next version of this, they've already announced, is going to be social video. So that will be LinkedIn Live through a native video stream. So you won't use StreamYard for this or Restream or anything else. Native video direct on LinkedIn, and you'll be able to see a panel of your listeners' faces, and they'll be able to say, I want to come on stage now. And you, as the host, can pull them up and you can have a little chat with them, and then you can send them back down, and it's all on video and it's all native and it'll all be recorded. So I think that's a really powerful way of engaging your audience, because right now, all you can do is pull up comments on StreamYard, talk back to people. They can't really talk to you.
Right.
So social video, interactive event video for LinkedIn, I think potentially could be really, really good.
Yeah,
and
I'd
again,
use that.
It needs to be made private, or
Right.
at least have the option for privacy, so that you can talk to a group or talk to a paying group of people, for example. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, I'd definitely use that. I'd use that if they were
Me
to
too.
come out. Yeah. Especially if they give you the ability to record and use the content in other places. That is
You
like
can't
key.
record at the moment, but that will be coming, because LinkedIn are recording all the audio events. So eventually I think you'll be able to record publicly as well.
Nice. We have a question from Gail. John, as my LinkedIn superhero, do you know if LinkedIn has a feature which allows us to schedule posts in the future? If no, who do we talk to?
Well, it's a good question. Now, LinkedIn used to have a premium tool called Elevate that was aimed at the enterprise market. It was quite expensive. I think about £1,500 per year minimum. And in that, you could do things like scheduling posts inside LinkedIn. Right now, instead of using something like that, which I think they've fully decommissioned, you would need to use a tool such as Buffer or Hootsuite. And so you can schedule posts, but you need to use an external tool to do it. And because of the way that LinkedIn is set up, it doesn't give you access to all of the features that you would expect when doing things natively.
Right.
I think a native scheduling feature, let's say for premium users, would be a great thing. LinkedIn's method of giving feedback has changed. I mean, they used to have a proper feedback page. It's not really there anymore. So the best way to do it is to find someone who knows someone on the inside of LinkedIn who's actually responsive to messages, and then send direct messages to them. I actually have a person on the inside of the messaging team, but they kind of engage with me silently, that we're not connected with each other. Let's put it that way, so that there's no obvious connection. But yeah, find someone on the inside of LinkedIn if you can, through a mutual connection, and then send them your product ideas. And mention it in comments as much as possible, because LinkedIn do read comments, and every so often one of their team might notice something and go, yeah, that's a really good idea.
Right. So people are talking about Content DNA down in the comments as well. Love Content DNA. They did the audiobook.
Nice.
Did the audiobook. I need to get the physical copy for referencing as well. Vash is saying, still reading. I got mine December 21st. Very nice. Thank you so much for picking that up.
Thank you, Vash.
Rebecca saying, one of my favorite books. And Tristan literally put the Amazon link.
So, thank you.
For all those who want to get it. And let me just say hello to Garen, who's saying good morning, everyone. And thank you so much for listening to my audiobook whenever that comes out. I don't know when that's going to be a thing. What else do we have?
Do you know what you should do? You know what you should do, Juma? You should pick you should create a mini chapter of the kind of thing that you would write in a book. And then you should make an audio of that and put it out and go, this, but multiplied by 100 would be my book, and just see what it feels like. And I bet you people would absolutely love it.
Ooh, let me just check the time code for when you said that. So I can go back and check it later.
Yeah.
Oh, there's so many good comments. We can't get to all of them. So, but because we have to, it's 58 minutes so far. We have to bring this in for a landing. I don't want to keep John here all day. So let me just ask a couple more questions, and then we'll do the agree disagree segment, and we'll bring everything in for a landing. There's so many things. John, you don't know how I prepared for this. There's so many things I have to ask. I wanted to ask about the Friday Shout Club. I wanted to ask about the oh man, there's so many things. Anyway, what I will do is that instead of talking about some of those stuff, I want to talk specifically about your website.
Okay.
Right. And And even more specifically, I want to talk about the fact that you have a manifesto on your website, right? So there's a written list of things people can expect when they come to your website. So let me read the top 3 things, the first 3 things that you have on that list, right? Okay. So the first thing, which is obviously so they can expect relentlessly helpful content, right? And it says, if you want to write better content, improve your web presence, and be smarter on LinkedIn, you're in the right place. Second thing you say is simple, clear language. I don't use big words or long sentences to sound clever. I make things simple to understand. And the third thing you have is transparent pricing. I don't waste your time by hiding my prices. Check out my pricing page for the lowdown. I read that manifesto and I could immediately tell a lot about who you are. So 2 things. What made you arrive at that idea, and why is it important to have it on your website?
Well, I think I was really frustrated by a lot of mission statements that you see from brands. Like they'll give you some big fuzzy statement about how they're going to try and help the world or whatever. And it's not very clear actually, what does this mean in practice? And as a one-person business, I thought it would be much more helpful and clear if I just said, I will do this, I won't do this. I will do this, I won't do this. Because then it's just easy to interpret, it's easy to read, and it's like a promise. I'm making you a promise. And if I can't keep those promises, why should you trust me with anything else, right? So I'm putting my cards on the table. I'm telling you what I'm going to do. If I do those things, then hopefully you will trust me a little bit more. And if I avoid the things that I say that I'm going to avoid, again, hopefully you'll trust me a bit more. And if I break any of those rules, then you should know that something's gone a little bit wrong, right? So I encourage everyone to have that approach of coming up with a manifesto and say, this is what I stand for, this is what I'll do, and this is what I won't do. Because it's a very, very easy set of rules for people to understand about you. And like you say, it gives an impression into the way that people run their business. So, like the pricing thing, a lot of people would say, oh no, you shouldn't tell people your prices, wait till you get them on a call. And I would always think, well, I'm going to waste people's time with that. Like, what if I'm 10 times more expensive than they can afford and they get on a call with me and then they're in an awkward position where they go, oh, okay, that sounds brilliant, but I can't afford you. Why would I waste that person's time or my time?
Yeah.
Just tell them, give them the information and let them decide, let the other person decide. So it might mean that fewer people get in touch with me, but the people who get in touch at least have the option of knowing how much I cost and hopefully they'll self-select and we'll all have a better conversation as a result. So it's that kind of thing. Just be really clear and be open and upfront with your rules. And that's what the manifesto is.
Yeah, definitely. And on that pricing thing, it was Blair Enns. I've read the Win Without Pitching Manifesto. Have you ever read that? Yeah, it's a really great book. It's a really great book. He says in that book, bring up price early and often. And it just makes absolute sense, for you to do that. So when I saw that, I was like, yeah, you're doing it right in that sense.
I mean, if you went to, I know we're not buying commodities here. I'm a service provider, but you wouldn't, if you went into a supermarket, and nothing had a price on it, you wouldn't take it all to the till and just hope that you could afford it. It's a waste of time. You've got to go and put all the products back on the shelves because you haven't got half as much money as you need.
Right.
Just get to the point and tell people the truth as much as you can. Price is such a common question. You might as well answer it.
Get to the point, just like in Content DNA. Which one is your favorite manifesto?
What my favorite?
Yeah, which one of the items is your favorite in the manifesto?
Probably the one about pop-ups, I would say, actually, because I hate pop-ups. I mean, I know that like effectively every website has got a pop-up because everyone has the cookies thing, but let's forget that because that's like a legal thing. But I just hate, as soon as you go to a website and it pops up saying subscribe or join our mailing list or pay us only £3 a month for premium content. It's like, I don't even know who you are yet. So I will never do pop-ups and I say as much on my website. So it's that one because I find that really, really affects the user experience. I don't like annoying people, and so I won't annoy people with pop-ups.
Okay, excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
All right, so let's bring everything in for a landing. I have a ton more questions to ask, but I know we are the hour already, so let me bring things in for a landing, and let's play the agree disagree game. And for that, I do actually have an intro which I will play. I haven't played any of the other intros, but I'm going to play this one, right? So let's just play that. All right, so let's play agree, disagree with John Espirian. So, John, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to put forward some statements and you could agree or disagree. If you want to play along down in the comments, you can do that as well. Feel free to use your thumbs up or thumbs down to represent whether you agree or disagree. These statements do not reflect what I agree or disagree with. These are just general things, right? And you can tell me how those go. I'll put them up on the screen. Let me get the banners going right now. The first one is, and this is the question I'm probably going to ask a few times to different people, so you would hear about this. Agree or disagree? Passion before skill.
I think actually I might disagree a little bit with that. I think if you can be really, really good at something, you can quite easily grow to love it and find ways to develop it even further. I think just running around having lots of passion, that doesn't actually translate into any value. So I don't completely agree with that.
All right, so that's a disagree.
I'm going to say disagree.
Okay, great. Next one. So this is something that I have put. Oh, okay. Let me save this. This is something that I have put out there. So the next one is, video is just a vehicle to deliver a message.
I'm going to disagree with that. I think all content formats will deliver a message, but I think video gives you something that the others don't. You're delivering more than a message. You're delivering an emotion. You know, you can see enthusiasm, you know, animation, body language, non-verbal cues, trust, tone of voice, the things that humans have developed over tens of thousands of years to understand is conveyed when you talk on video to people. It's the closest thing you can get to being in the room with them. And so I think it's more than just a message. You have the capability of delivering feeling and developing emotional connection. So I think it's more than just a vehicle.
Oh, interesting. I won't tell you my views on that, but I think that is a very good take. Okay, so next one. Agree, disagree. Good copywriting over good design.
I don't think they can really work separately, because I think if you've got good copywriting and bad design, something probably won't even get read, however good the words are. If you've got good design and terrible writing, you might get people's attention, but it'll put them off. So I don't really think you should have one over the other. But if you had a gun to my head and say what is more important, I think probably the writing is more important than the design. So okay. I guess I would agree just
a bit. You agree this? Okay. Next one. This one's an interesting one. So LinkedIn audio signals the death of Clubhouse.
Oh man, that's a tough one, because it's so early days and LinkedIn hasn't got a good track record with developing technology better than other platforms. I don't think LinkedIn's technology will ever be better than Clubhouse's, but they've got 800 million users. And I think Clubhouse is probably going to be declining anyway, even if LinkedIn didn't do anything, because there are other social platforms. So I think if the question was just Clubhouse, will it die? I think that's probably going to be yes. So I don't think LinkedIn audio is signaling it, but I think Clubhouse will be in demise anyway.
All right. Okay, good. So next one, and I had to put this thing in brackets for all the American people. Football is more fun than solving a copywriting problem.
Of course it is. It's the best game in the world. Of course it is. Easy.
All right, good. Who's your favorite team?
I'm a Liverpool fan.
Liverpool. All right, the blue.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's my brand color, but yeah, I've always been a red at heart.
A red. Okay, nice. All right. This one should be easy. Personal content and private content are two different things.
Yeah, yes, they are two different things. You can put personality into your material and you can share some of your personal life, but private content, that's the kind of stuff that really, maybe your friends and family need to know, and it is shared in a medium that wouldn't be broadcast to the whole world. And that crosses a line. So I see them as different categories. Yes, always be personal, always show personality, but you don't share private things publicly.
Excellent. Good. Next one. We work hard at social media so we can spend time. Is that supposed to be so we can spend time away from it?
That's interesting. Because, I mean, for me, it just integrates so closely with my life. So many of my friends are around the world. And if it weren't for social media, I wouldn't be in contact with them. I mean, let's face it. If it weren't for social media, I wouldn't know you.
True. This is true.
So if I stepped away from social media, I probably wouldn't be able to keep that connection with someone like you. So for me, I wouldn't really want to step away. I like it because it integrates so much of friends and also family as well. But yeah, I think generally speaking, it's very easy to be sucked in too much, where all you do is look at your screen and you don't look at the trees outside or whatever. In which case, social media isn't really helping you. So I totally understand maybe that angle to it. But for me, with a global network of friends and family, I love social media.
All right, so that's a disagree.
I think so.
Okay, great. And lastly, it's better to be useful than to be popular.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I'm all about utility. So, yeah, definitely. I mean, popularity might have nothing backing it up at all, no substance. And I would always want to be a person of substance. So always choose utility and usefulness over popularity and fame every day.
Excellent. Really, really excellent. So let me just throw up your socials and everything else. Thank you so much, John. We're coming to the end of the show right now. I have one more quote from you I'm going to quote at the end. So you can find you at, I'm thinking this is right. You can find you at Espirian.co.uk.
I've got such an unusual surname that if you search that, you'll find me on my website and LinkedIn. Those are the best places, and it's very easy to find.
Do you often get questions about your last name, like what's the origin of it and stuff like that?
Yeah, I do, and people misspell it all the time because it's not one you see every day. But it's actually a transliteration of an Armenian surname. So in Armenian, they don't even use the Roman letters. So there isn't a proper Roman spelling of the name. And yeah, when my mum immigrated to the UK, I mean, the proper spelling that she'd been given wasn't the one that was put on her passport, and so I'm left with Espirian like this. Yeah, so it's an unusual name, but if you do spell it correctly, you'll find my website and you'll find my LinkedIn. And
yes, definitely original. I have a friend whose last name is Hainsley. And the same thing happened to him. I think he had there's no one else you can find within that last name. Hainsley. It's just like you have Hazley and you have Haynes, but you don't really have Hainsley. So
I tell you what, it's great. It's great for getting usernames because no one else has got it. So it's like, yes.
no one else. And you can find John on LinkedIn, but we all know that at John Espirian. He's also on YouTube, John Espirian. He's on Twitter at Espirian. Which, I mean, it's just like at this point, just Google him, search your last name.
Yeah.
And let's go back to this and let me say here, and let me do a quote from John to finish things off. And John has said, if I'm going to run a meaningful social media presence, it's got to be focused. I'd rather go narrow and deep than broad and shallow. Wise words from John, not from me. And this is a quote that we can take with us. Do you have anything else to tell the people right before we sign off, John?
Well, just thanks so much for having me. And I hope that the lessons that I've shared have shown how you also can grow your business and grow your visibility, you know, and happy to have a chat with anyone who wants some help with that. So reach out to me and use my secret word in your about statement, please, in my about statement when you send me a message, and I'll be happy to chat.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, John, for coming on. Thank you so much for coming. I'm going to have the outro. I'm going to play the outro. I did not play the intro. I played one segment, and I'm going to have the outro now. So let me just check the comments before we go, because people were playing agree, disagree. Juma John, are the lives recorded for replay on LinkedIn? Yes, they are. They're going to be on my profile. Better to be useful than 100%. Okay, so this is a question that I'm asking. Yes, they are. Better to be useful, 100% agree. Tristan, your comment is blocking our faces. Disagree. Clubhouse is further ahead and launch. LinkedIn wasn't at similar level. So people can check the comment for that. Copywriting, disagree. So Tristan he's played the entire game, clearly.
Nice.
And Sue said, I wondered if John's surname had an Armenian relationship. Yeah, now we know for sure the facts. All right, everybody, thank you so much for jumping on with me. Thank you, John, for coming on. It's been a long time coming. We are the red and the blue sitting here together having a conversation, and, you know, continue to do what you do, John, on the platform. And I do appreciate you. I'm going to stick around. I had so many questions. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'd make a video just asking those questions publicly and see if you come in the comments and answer them. And so it's great having you on. Thank you so much for coming. Buddy. Again. Bye, everyone, and we'll see you on the platforms. Oop, what is happening? It's going to play eventually. It's going to play eventually.